Hey guys, this is Jenna with Hill Valley Farm, and we're going to start on part 2 of So You Want Goats, Now What? So the first thing I want to talk about in this session is feed. And that's kind of a sticky subject with a lot of goat breeders because everybody has what they like and they swear by it. So no matter who you talk to, you're probably going to get a different answer. And it's because there are just so many different feeds out there and reasons for feeding them a certain feed. Yes, you can go with only goat feed all the time, or you can implement in some senior horse feed here and there depending on what's going on with the animal. So, but for us, what works for us is we get our feed from our local co-op. It's Anderson Farmers Co-op. I'm going to do a shout out to them because they are literally the best farm store ever, and I appreciate them so much and their support. And so what we feed is a goat ration, and it's got molasses in it. It's like a sweet feed, if you will. And so that is a beautiful feed for just your everyday use. You can even use it just for your milkers or just for your kids. Here on our farm, as you can tell if you've been with us for any time at all, we live in a very low-lying valley. And so when springtime hits and the dampness or the rain comes and it's a wet season, it's a wet area on our ground, we do have coccidia issues, and we can at times. So the first thing that I started doing is something my mentor taught me, and I will feed the non-milkers, that means kid or a goat that's not in milk, a pellet that has rumensin in it. And the idea is it doesn't kill the coccidia in the goat, it just makes them not live outside of the goat in the goat pellets. And so I feed that to the non-milkers. I throw in some black oil sunflower seeds because black oil sunflower seeds are supposed to be a natural anti-parasitic. So that's why I use those. And that is also the combination I will feed to my bucks. And so it's kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio with the ration and the pellets. But then I throw in like a small scoop of black oil sunflower seeds here and there. And so it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. The other one is a milker feed. And so I'll use my goat ration in that, but I'll also do something like a milk enhancing pellet in there, as well as the black oil sunflower seeds thrown in. Along the way, I have mixed and matched so many milking feeds. It's not even funny. I've thrown in alfalfa pellets when we didn't have alfalfa bales. I will top it with rice bran. I will top dress it with beet pulp, different things like that. So grain, they come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. So you have to figure out what works for you and your herd. Now, like this time of year, it's not that important for me to have that rumensin pellet, so I'll just use a goat ration. But as the springtime hits and as the rains hit, I will have to start using that. Now, I also, to keep parasites away, we also rotationally graze, and that has really been doing some wonders for us. So that's in the way of grain. Now, I do feed my bucks grain. I do not feed them a lot. There's a lot of controversy out there about bucks eating grain. No, they absolutely cannot have grain. Mine have eaten grain the entire time I've had them, plus the other ones have eaten grain before I had them, like Leroy and X. They were fed grain. Never had an issue. The issue with bucks getting too much calcium or too much grain is they can get something called urinary calculi, and obviously that is detrimental to their health. It can kill them, but it can also ruin their entire lives with just the calculi getting built up and inside the sheath, and so it just gets really bad. But again, we don't feed a lot to our bucks, and I do find that they need it to keep their weight on. Protein, you will find, is one of the most important things when you're talking about nutrition for your animals. And so it's just really, really important to have some really good protein. The goat ration, I think, is like a 16% pellet. But if I'm having a goat that's having a hard time keeping her weight on, I might give her like a senior horse feed top dressing. And that is like higher in protein, like 22 to 23%. And so that is the discussion on grain. Do you have to feed a goat grain? Absolutely not. Do they love it as a treat at night? Yes, absolutely they do. Now, when you have a goat in milk, we will allow that goat in milk to eat as much grain as she can on the stand, as much grain as she wants on the stand while we're milking her. I won't allow her to stay on the stand, but like for any length of time longer, unless she's having some issues. But typically it's they eat grain the entire time they're getting prepped, milked, and then you get them off the stand, and they eat a lot. I think it's like you really should feed them 1 pound for every 2 or 3 pounds of milk they produce. I don't really measure it. I'm not all that big on measuring. I just feed them what they'll eat, and they produce really great. So that's the discussion on grain. One of the most important things in a goat's nutrition is free choice loose minerals. And when I say free choice loose minerals, that means that the goat has access to them at all times, but they also are a loose mineral. So when I pick this mineral up, I want it to fall from my hands kind of like salt would. And again, we get our minerals from our local co-op, and it is like a Forage Masters loose goat mineral. It is specified for goats. There's all kinds of minerals out there. There's Zinpro, there's all kinds. However, we have found that our goats suck these minerals down. They like them. Now, sometimes, like during the summer, they may not be as into them, or even like the fall and the beginning of winter. But this time of year, when we have 20 very heavily bred does, that like we have right now, one of these feeders, and the bag, the whole bag fills the feeder, will last me about a week to a week and a half, and then I have to replace. And it's because their needs are just so much greater in pregnancy. Now, you might think about, if you have cattle, a salt block or a mineral block. You can have those things. Like we do have little salt, round, pink Himalayan salt blocks hanging around for the does, and they really like those. But that's not the minerals that they need. Minerals, when I talk about minerals, are like copper, zinc, things of that nature. You should never ever feed a goat sheep minerals, because in sheep minerals they don't have copper. Sheep cannot have copper, it's deadly. But goats need copper, and so to have all the things that they have and everything work, okay? And if a goat is copper deficient, it looks the same thing as copper toxicity. So that's kind of scary. So minerals are kind of funny in goats. So like a black goat may get a really brown or copper color to its fur. That typically means it's copper deficient. And so to add or supplement into our minerals, I do a copper bolus twice a year, every 6 months. And it's just a very small 2-gram bolus, and every goat on the farm gets it. Now, I don't copper bolus kids until they're a year old, but unless I see something. But fortunately, I haven't seen anything happen with our kids where they get copper deficient so fast. But in this area, I do need some more copper supplementation. So this mineral is, like I said, really great. Now, the other thing you need when you talk about loose minerals, you know how a salt block has a pan? Minerals need a container. And so I used to use like just one of these feed troughs for the minerals, and I would run out of minerals, or the minerals would sit there and get bad, and it just didn't work very well. I cannot stress enough the importance of having an actual mineral feeder. You can make your own with PVC pipes. That is a thing. You can look it up anywhere. but I absolutely love and adore Sidel, and they're not sponsoring this video, but I love their brand, their mineral feeders. I love a lot of Sidel things, but I love the mineral feeders, and it's because, like I said, I can fit my whole bag of minerals in this one feeder and I'm good to go. I just have to make sure, that it's not like clogged or anything like that, and I'll dig my finger in there and make sure it's okay, and it's typically fine. The top of it comes off and you can pour it down in there. And now that I look, yeah, my minerals I put in here last week are now down to there. So they're halfway gone. So I'm going to end up having to go back and get some more. But again, their needs are greater right now because of pregnancy. That's not normal. Typically a bag like that will last me a couple months, especially because we rotate, pastures. And so what's in this over here now is baking soda. Baking soda is really good for the rumen. Everything is very acidic in the rumen. And so this helps to base it out and make them not have like what we would call reflux. And it just kind of helps neutralize things in the rumen. Not neutralize things in the rumen, but neutralize their throats and on down into the rumen. It helps a lot. And it also helps them not to get so bloated. So they'll burp if you know the old school remedy of taking some baking soda. If you have reflux, you will end up burping a lot of it up, and that's the same idea as this. And so I actually leave the baking soda out, free choice as well. But the most important thing between the two are these minerals. It is absolutely paramount that they have loose minerals, free choice, all the time available to them. So that's the talk on minerals. Another thing that you will need for your goats are really good hoof trimmers. And it just makes a huge difference when it's a cold day or a hot day and you have 30 does to get through. And so it's just really important. Now, some people have the Hoof Boss, and that is my dream. I just haven't spent the money for it yet. We decided to go with an ultrasound machine this year. But even if you have a Hoof Boss, you still need some good hoof trimmers to help you get in the, I would imagine the hard to reach areas of the hoof. And because just like humans, all goats are different. So some have hooves that are soft, some have hooves that are hard, and some grow faster than others. And so Trisha here is done. We've trimmed her up. She's good to go. But these are the Silver Line hoof trimmers. Caprolite sells them, and they're very generous. The way we got these is Caden won them in showmanship back in May. So I absolutely love the Silver Line hoof trimmers. And another good tool to have is some sort of a little Dremel-like thing. This is just a cheapo I got off Amazon, and it's grinder. So like if you have a hard like an edge that needs smoothed down, these are also good for those hooves that kind of grow sideways. I use this a lot on one of our does, and it helps even it out and just make it more level for that doe. Trisha doesn't need that. Trisha actually has excellent hooves, and we love the excellent hooves. Hooves are their foundation, so when they're too long, it can actually make them walk funny. It can also hurt their pasterns and the ligaments in the foot and stretch them out and really do some damage. So it is important to keep on top of them. The ideal situation is trimming every 6 weeks. That is not, I try to live up to that standard, but I don't, sadly. Now during show season, oh yes, everyone gets a hoof trim right before shows. Even if they had a show a couple weeks ago, we just kind of even it out and smooth it out. So super important to have some really good hoof trimmers. So that is part 2 of So You Want to Go Now What? I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of that. We are going to do one more, and then that'll be the conclusion of it. But like I said in all of the videos, you know, especially in the grain video and, you know, the hay, even in that first part, you have to do what works for you. I'm very, very big on that, and so that's what I tell everyone, because what we do may not work for you and vice versa. So, because I know there are several out there that actually don't even feed their goats grain, but more than not they do. And especially, I'm a really big advocate for good nutrition, especially, I mean always, but especially when the goat is in milk, because after all, they are dairy goats and they need help with their production in the way of protein and the fat and all that goes into it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until we see you guys again, I hope you have an awesome goat field day. Welcome to the flood season. Ugh. So rainy. Oh, Sky, honey, I can't believe you're coming out. Hi, Sky. Oh my gracious. Oh, let's go in here. Hi, Betty. Come on, baby. Let's go in. My goodness. Hi, girls. Is it a rainy day? Too rainy. Oh, Kelly, be nice. Oh, Alice. Alice is not due until April 11th. And I'm telling you, I think the camera takes away like 10 pounds on goats, but she is enormous. It doesn't look like it on the camera, but in person, she's really heavy. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Betty. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. We're stuck in the barn for a few days because of that mess.